Hey, it's a great day. I'm Mike Current, Energizer, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about gear, specifically the big 3 items I have in my rucksack. So let's do this. The big 3 items in any person's rucksack are the backpack, the tent, and the sleeping system. They are called the big 3 because obviously they are the biggest 3 items in the rucksack, and they typically weigh the most, and they typically cost the most. For my rucksack, I use the Hyperlite Southwest 3400. It's the rucksack I use. This one's pretty much ready to go for the CDT. I have my old one, same make and model that I used on the PCT and AT. As you can tell, I have the all black version. So that has a thicker Dyneema composite, but in all other aspects, it's the same as the white version. My old one worked great on the PCT and AT, and I love it. And I could probably take it to a seamstress and do a little stitching repairs on it, and it probably would be good to go for the CDT. But I got a new one because REI was having a great sale, and I had a lot of dividend end of year credits in REI, so I went ahead and purchased it. The only difference between the 2 rucksacks is the original one I purchased was large. I'm not very tall at all, I'm pretty short, but I do have a long torso, and my back fell into the range between large and medium, and based on the Hyperlite website, if you're between, you order the larger one, which I did, and it worked great on the PCT and AT, but I always thought it felt a little low on my back. So when I bought the new one, I went for the medium version. Now, like I said, this one's pretty much ready to go for my CDT hike. You can see the equipment already attached. For those of you that are really devoted old man in the CDT, PCT, or AT viewers, you know why I always have a flamingo on my shoulder strap. I have added to this one a couple patches. Added an Energizer patch, the AT, and the PCT patch, because I'm really proud that I completed those 2 through hikes. And again, for the dedicated viewers, you know that I will have the Continental Divide patch inside the ruck, and it will always remain hidden, and you know why it's always hidden. The Hyperlite backpack is made out of Dyneema composite. It's waterproof and it doesn't absorb water. It's just an incredible material. However, where the stitching is on the backpack, that could potentially leak. So most people will line their backpack with a compact trash or trash compactor bag. Now, not to be confused with contractor bags like construction bags, outdoor bags. These are trash compactor bags. You know that little machine you have in your kitchen that squishes down the trash, makes it smaller? These you can buy at any store. They're trash compactor bags. And for the AT, I went to a 2-bag system, and I think I'm going to do the same thing on the CDT, and I'll explain why. Lining the inside of the bag, I have a wet bag and a dry bag. In the dry bag, I keep all the things that I want to stay dry, like my sleeping bag, my extra clothes, my electronics. That all stays in the dry bag. Then I have another bag, and it's my wet bag. Inside the wet bag are things that could potentially get wet over the evening, such as my tent and my food bag. Obviously, if it rains overnight, my tent is made out of Dyneema composite, so it doesn't absorb water, but there are water droplets on the outside of the tent. So I don't want that wetness inside my rucksack and getting on other items and potentially just making their way down to the bottom and lining the inside of my backpack. I don't want that. So it goes in the wet bag. The other item that goes in the wet bag is the food bag. If I'm hanging my food at night because of habituated bears in the area, if the rain gets on it, again, my food bag is made out of Dyneema composite, so it doesn't absorb water, but there are water droplets around it. I don't want that wetness inside my bag. So it goes in the wet bag. The tent and the food bag goes in the wet bag, that goes inside the rucksack, and then hopefully sometime during the day when it's nice and sunny and I'm having a lunch, I will take a break, I will pull the wet bag out, I will lay out my tent, I will lay out my food bag, I'll turn the wet bag inside out, I'll let all that dry, and then I'll replace it. But that way the wet items that could potentially be in the rucksack and the dry items don't mix. The Hyperlite Southwest 3400 bag is the most common backpack used on the Continental Divide Trail according to the 2003 Halfway Anywhere CDT survey. I mean, that's not the reason I have it. I use the same bag on the PCT and the AT, but it's good to know that I'm in good company as far as choosing my rucksack. So that's my backpack. Moving on to my tent. I use the Z-Packs Duplex 2-person tent. It is the spruce green version, which is made out of a slightly thicker Dyneema composite than the standard blue or other colored versions. This is the same tent I used on the PCT and AT, and I intend to use it on the CDT. It's still in good shape, and so yeah, I'm going to use it. I like the 2-person tent. Spend a lot of time in the tent when you're on a through hike, and I like that extra space where I can put out things and I can sort them, and I'm not worried. And if it's raining outside, I'm not worried about my stuff. It's all right there. I can see it. It's well organized. It's only a few ounces more than the single person version, and to me that extra ounces is well worth the comfort I receive when I'm on the trail. For tent pegs, I have a variety of titanium and aluminum tent pegs. They're the ones I started the PCT with. Pretty much all the ones I started the PCT with, I went through that trail and the AT, taking them on the CDT. I've lost a couple, gained a couple. Pretty much they're all the same. They're working great for me. I keep all of this inside one of the Hyperlite pods. I think these things are outstanding, and they stack really nicely inside the Hyperlite rucksacks. The Z-Packs Duplex tent is not a freestanding tent, so I use my trekking poles as my tent poles, and I'm going to be taking these. These are the same black diamond, carbon cork, alpine trekking poles that I started the PCT with, did that trail and the AT. I'm taking them on the CDT. They're a little beat up, but they work great. The only thing I've had to replace on them are the ends, and that's just because the metal wears down to the nub just by going thousands of miles down the trail. The Z-Packs Duplex tent is the most common tent used on the CDT according to the Halfway Anywhere survey. So again, I feel like I'm in good company. As a footprint for my tent, I use a Tyvek ground sheet. I think it's because of this Tyvek ground sheet, my tent is in such great condition after 2 trails and hopefully a 3rd long trail. I have to replace this every long trail. This is a new one. I had to replace it after the PCT, got a new one after the AT. So this is a new one here, but for 15 bucks, this is a great footprint, saves my $650 tent. And in addition to that, the Tyvek ground sheet is the most versatile piece of equipment in my rucksack. I actually did a video on that. If you go to my AT prep videos under the playlist, look for my favorite piece of gear, and I will leave the link to that video in the description in this video. The sleep system consists of the sleeping bag and the sleeping pad. On the Continental Divide Trail, I will be using the Western Mountaineering Versalite 10-degree down bag. This is the same sleeping bag I used on the Pacific Crest Trail. I carried it the entire way. It was a little bit of an overkill in Northern California and Oregon, but by the time I got to Washington, I am glad I had it. For the Continental Divide Trail, while the desert might be pretty hot during the day, the nights do get cold. And then I'll be heading into the San Juans in Colorado where the nights will be cold. And then on the Continental Divide Trail, from what I've researched, there is no Northern California and Oregon equivalent. After Colorado, you hit the Great Basin, which the nights are cold, the Wind River Range, Yellowstone, Idaho, and Montana, all of which typically have cold evenings, even if the days are pretty warm. I sleep cold, I know that, and so I'm going with the 10-degree bag. The average bag rating on the Continental Divide Trail, according to the CDT survey, is 17 degrees. So it makes sense that my bag would be lower than the average, just because, again, I know I sleep cold. The Western Mountaineering Versalite bag is the third most common bag used on the Continental Divide Trail, again, according to the survey. It was beat out by the Enlightened Equipment Enigma bag and the Revelation bag, both of those being quilts. And I get it. I used a Revelation quilt, Enlightened Equipment Revelation quilt, on the Appalachian Trail, and it worked wonderfully the entire way. But for the CDT, I'm going with the Versalite. The pad I intend to use is the Neo Air X-Lite, and this is the regular extra wide edition. Now I'm a little guy, but I went with the extra wide edition, and I'll explain why. On my previous two hikes, the Pacific Crest Trail and the Appalachian Trail, I used the Neo Air Extra Light Women's Cut Edition. It's a little narrower, a little shorter, and it worked great. In fact, this is still in good shape. It still holds air. I could use it for the Continental Divide Trail. However, between the AT and the PCT, I noticed that at the end of the Appalachian Trail, my body was in better shape. Physically, I did not feel as worn down as I did on the Pacific Crest Trail. And I attribute that to several items, but mainly because on the Appalachian Trail, I slept in a lot more beds. And because of that, I believe my nighttime recovery was a lot better. And so what I'm trying to do on the Continental Divide Trail, because I know I'm not going to be sleeping in a lot of beds, is I'm trying to duplicate that comfort while sleeping in my tent. So I went up 4 extra pounds. My old one is 12 ounces. The new one is 16 ounces. It's a little thicker. It's a little wider. It's going to give me a little more comfort while I'm sleeping in my tent, and I'm hoping that extra comfort will allow my body to recover better at night. Now, 2 luxury items I have related to my sleep system. The first one is my Sea to Summit pillow. Same pillow I used on the Pacific Crest Trail and the Appalachian Trail. I'm taking this baby with me. I love it. Well worth the wait. And what I will do is I add Velcro to the back of it and then Velcro on the sleeping pad, and that keeps it in place during the evening and doesn't slide off. The second luxury item that I'm taking with me related to my sleep system is I am taking an inflator, mechanical inflator, battery operated. One of my pet peeves, one of the things I really don't like doing while I'm on trail, is blowing up my sleep pad. Hiking all day, I'm real tired. I set up my tent, I throw everything in the tent, I break out the pad, and then you gotta sit there for 10 minutes. It just drives me. If there's one thing I could get rid of during a through hike, it's that. Just hate doing it. Now, with the Neo X-Lite bags, it comes with this additional bag where you can kind of catch air with it, fold it up, and then you can push air from the one bag into the other bag. Problem is, I just don't have the dexterity and patience to do that. That bag, that extra bag, does weigh about an ounce, and this thing weighs just under 2 ounces. So maybe for an ounce worth of extra weight, all I gotta do is hit the button. 5 minutes later, less than that, I'm good to go. As of the release date of this video, the northbound thru-hikers on the Continental Divide Trail have already started. The Continental Divide Trail Coalition shuttle started on the 29th of March, taking potential aspiring thru-hikers down to Crazy Cook Terminus to start their northbound hike. The bubble is the first few weeks of April, and I'm still on target to start on 1 May. On the Appalachian Trail, the 2 Warrior Expedition veteran groups have already started on that trail. They have left Springer Mountain, and then they stay together as a group until they get to Neal's Gap, which they both have done. And then after Neal's Gap, Mission Crossings, they break up as they deem fit, and they move forward down the trail heading north. Throughout that trail, they will have a network of support to help them, help those veterans go down the trail and provide aid when they need it. As I've discussed previously, Warrior Expeditions is a nonprofit organization that uses thru-hiking as a form of therapy for veterans suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. I don't monetize my videos in any manner. I don't make money from YouTube, and I'm not looking for Patreons. I just make the videos because I enjoy doing it. And I'm not affiliated with Warrior Expeditions. I just believe in their mission. So, if you do like my videos and you would like to show appreciation, please pay that forward. Please visit Warrior Expeditions and help donate to that cause. I'm still getting ready for my hike. In my next video, I will talk about the rest of my equipment, but I'm still getting ready, still training, still doing everything I need. I'm leaving 1 May. See you next time.